We are in a country where it was born in corruption. It was born by profit over people. Who got cotton on? Who doesn't have cotton on? Whose families have not been impacted by cancer? Whose friends have not been impacted by this? This is a situation of consumption. So all this cotton, we're standing in the state that grew massive and massive and massive amounts of cotton. Does Georgia grow the same amount of cotton as it used to? Why not? Oh, really? Is it because it's genetically modified? Or what? Cheaper than free? You can't get cheaper than free labor. So what happened? When did the shift in agriculture happen? When we could no longer enslave one another in this country. But did slavery stop?
Nope. No.
Are you still wearing cotton? Am I still wearing cotton? Yeah. So it's being grown in another place where slavery is still in existence. Agriculture has to do with the wood that we're building our homes with. It has to do with the clothing that we're wearing. When you start looking at agriculture from the fuel systems, there are people that work at Monsanto that do very basic work, like clean the toilets. And there are people that work at Monsanto that do amazingly fantastic work, like research the information of seeds and figure out how best to catalog it and store it. And they're just like you and me. They got jobs and families. They're no different than you and me. They are not vampires that sleep in vats of blood at night. They're just like you and me. And when they get sad, when they get lonely, when they feel vulnerable, they get triggered by the social engineering of their addiction to sugar, salt, and fat. Somebody raise your hand if you're beyond that. You're beyond it? You're beyond sugar, salt, and fat? Hallelujah. We got 2 people, 3 people. So now in that space and time, that shows how much work we got to do standing right here, sitting right here. Because I'm not. I grow food. I've been growing food. But there's times when I really want to hear something crunch in my mouth because I'm feeling aggressive. There's times when I'm feeling vulnerable and I really want something sweet. And in nature, you will never find anything that grows in nature that has sugar, salt, and fat together. That is the trigger of addiction. That is the genetic social engineering that has been going on, that now we find ourselves wanting to rally against something rather than face our own addictions. It would be great if we could shut Monsanto down, but then remember, there's a woman who's got 3 children who cleans the toilets at Monsanto. There's an amazing scientist who was picked up out of school for their understanding of plant biology and was swooped up by Monsanto and paid a good salary and wants to pay back the parents that put them through school and can do it now because they got a good job at Monsanto. And right now, we still want to decide about whether we're going to vote with our dollar or not, which already puts us in a very small minority. An increasingly shrinking minority in this country that can vote with their dollar, that can take time on a Saturday to drive somewhere to get out and take a walk. When there are sisters and brothers in my family in the neighborhoods where we grow food who walk the neighborhood because it's their only means of transportation. They don't come home from the job and then go jogging. So we gotta really, really see who we are, understand our responsibility in this game. The United States was born on people over profit, and now we are all having to face that reality. And we are now feeling under attack. We're feeling lied to and subjugated and mistreated. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So when packaged processed food came into our reality, it became part of our culture because we were already addicted to the idea of not wanting to do for ourselves, not wanting to make our own furniture, not wanting to make our own clothing, not wanting to educate our own children, not wanting to raise our own families. So the genetic modification of food goes hand in hand with the social engineering, goes hand in hand with group homes and prison systems and public education. And when we follow the major families that are connected to it, their seed capital came from selling people, engineering people. Louisiana was a whole institution of genetic engineering of human beings, where we handpicked this person to make sure they bred with this person so that we could get better work out of them, until they literally worked the muscles and detached the muscles from their skeletal structure from working so long, picking cotton. So why would we not end up in this place with our food if we started in this place with human beings, y'all? This ain't brand new. But now it's affecting you. Now it's affecting you and your children. This has been the experience of the United States of America since its birth. So we can change it. And you can change it by voting with your dollar. I change it by my hands, by touching this earth. Sandy Goldie approached me to come and do this final closing. And similar to my brother there who ran for office and who just spoke before me, I didn't want to do it. I did not want to come and speak in front of you because I know how God moves through me. And I know there's things I must say. And I'm not comfortable with the stuff I'm saying either. Are you okay being uncomfortable for a moment or two? Because I love myself and you as a reflection of that self. And there's so much we can do. We have people who run food institutions right here. Okay, so I worked with a gentleman, Harvard graduate with a corporate background, and we used to roll around together. And of course, he's clean shaven, clean head. And he used to say to me, hey, brother, he wanted me to cut my hair and cut my beard. And he used to say to me, brother, there's these women coming around talking about how attractive you are and how much more attractive you'd be if you would shave your beard and cut your hair. Check it. That is the typical engineering of desire. Of course, I want to be desired by women. So the idea was, he wants this end result, for me to have a bald head and a clean face, so that we can put forth a corporate image that he's comfortable with, and we can do it in a unified fashion. And so he used manipulation. Hey, there's women who would love you better if you did that. And maybe they're not the right women for me, but more importantly, that's the lesson of understanding where we are. We are being triggered in the same way through all the advertisement that has told us that we're not enough. And so because in America, we have this fiat currency that allows us to go purchase the things that we think are going to make us be enough, then we can gather in very small groups like this and say, I'm going to vote with my dollar. And soon the dollar will be just like Germany, where we will be using the dollar to wallpaper our homes. And at that moment, we'll have to realize we have got to grow our food, make our furniture, create our clothing, educate our children, and keep our families together. And maybe even make our own music. Can you imagine? No streaming on the internet? You got to pick up an instrument and figure out how to blow that trumpet. So we're in a space now where the plea that I have is for us all to be responsible. Because again, these officials are just people. And many of them know exactly what's going on. The people at Monsanto know exactly what's going on, just like you know exactly what's going on in your place of business, or in your home, or at the school where you send your children and feel compelled that I gotta send my children here so I can go to work, because I cannot make an adjustment to my comfort zone. I cannot not have 2 cars. I cannot move into a smaller house. I gotta have air conditioning. How many of you have traveled in other places in the world? And you've seen that when you travel, you will live under those conditions and feel that it's quaint because you know it's just a certain amount of time. So this is cool, man. I love not having screens on the windows. I love not being able to get on this bus that's full of people like falling all out of the windows. It was so cultural. I love going to the outdoor market and there's flies all over my potatoes, and I love that. It was so rich. It was such a rich experience. And then we come here and we walk up into Whole Foods. I used to have people come to the farm and they'd ask me, well, you know, tell me about this soil, and tell me about how you're growing the food, and tell me about this, and tell me about that, because they were so intelligent about organic or permacultural practices. But when they go to Whole Foods, they don't even know the name of the produce manager. And when they see this space says organic apples and this says conventional apples, they go get the organic apples, they buy them, and no question asked. Never ask the produce manager, have you been to that farm? Can I go to that farm? We just love the convenience of someone else doing it for us. We love the convenience of someone else doing it for us. That is where the country began. And now we are running headlong into our collective karma. We can and must start to do for ourselves. Because right now, many of the people that are even controlling our local food systems, you can look at them and see whether or not they have discipline over their tongues. There are two organs of the body that if we can control them, we can master this world and the worlds above. The one between the lips and the one between the legs. When we master those two organs, we can truly become the spiritual beings that we are to become. Because absolutely there are corporations that are out here tampering with our food, tampering with our genetic information. And when we get a tomato that has spliced into it organisms that might be hermaphroditic organisms that do all kinds of different stuff when they mate, then we start to wonder, why is our behavior shifting? We heard people talk about what it does to the physical being, cancers and strokes, but what's it doing to our behavior? What's it doing to our emotional body? If I am now unknowingly half hog every time I eat an apple or something like that. Because these beings have a specific personality trait. They have a specific way in which they interact amongst themselves, which is okay. But when we start interacting like that, if we start to interact like a lion or interact like a bacteria, are we already starting that? Isn't that behavior already happening? I'm having it in my own self. I'm feeling it in me, impulses to do things that don't make any sense, that are at a different level of the species spectrum because I've been spliced and crossed. And it becomes more difficult to resist those combinations. What these companies are doing are they're taking fat, salt, and sugar that are not ever found in nature in a combination, and they're putting them in combination in everything we eat. And so now we've all most of us have an addiction to it. And it becomes very difficult to resist it. In the last 10 seconds, I would like to share something with you out of this book. This book is called Grow Where You Are. We have a tent back there, and this book is available for you. It says, we are in a moment of potential. We have come into time and space as students who succeed by applying our lessons. Application is transformation. We are here to learn how to live by the Are we here to learn how to live by the norms of this culture? Is the law of the land healthy? Are the leaders we've inherited working in service to us? Status quo reality has removed any trace of the sacred from our daily lives. We are encouraged to become members of teams, religious and corporate. Loving as a sovereign soul is an uncelebrated art. As the doorway into the new time opens, we are reminded of our power to choose life full of abundance and possibility. The teams will continue to compete as many of us exit the stadium and walk barefoot into the forest of the extraordinary. At this moment, I'd like for all of us to stand up, if we will. Stand up. I know the legs are tired. Y'all did a long walk. You also sat for a long time. But have a moment to stand up. You deserve to let the body move. Hands up. We see some people putting their hands up already. Yeah, we know. Give thanks for this body that we have. Give thanks if you have the two hands working. Give thanks if your feet have been able to move you around this city. Let it shake out a little bit. And we want to invite you to go to growwhereyouare.farm. We can offer you an opportunity to come and reconnect just as this space can. Volunteer. We can offer you an opportunity to reconnect with this planet. And we will also be, unless they have already started to circulate, we're going to start passing seeds out. Or maybe did you get any seeds? Did anybody get seeds? Okay, so we're going to start by making sure everybody has some free seeds, which is good. We got it as a gift. We're passing it on to you. These are heirloom seeds. Begin the process. If you don't have a space to plant, go to Piedmont Park and dig up in their flower beds and plant the seeds. Plant it next to where there's already a sprinkler system. You know what I mean? Go to all the public schools in Atlanta where we already send our children and say, look, I got these seeds, we want to plant them. Or go and purchase a fruit tree and let's start to consider edible landscaping as a solution. I thank you for your time and your attention.